Hello, everybody. And in here and on the web, welcome to Build Series. I'm Lee Blickley from HuffPost. And today, Neil Patrick Harris. I don't know if you guys have heard of Neil Patrick Harris, right? He's here today, joining us to talk about two of his shows that are on the air right now, or almost on the air. We have season 2 of the series of Unfortunate Events on Netflix, which premieres this Friday. And then Neil's also the host of Genius Junior. So that's really exciting, and it makes you feel like maybe you're not as smart as you thought you were. Maybe you should have paid more attention in school, because these kids are super smart. But let's start it off with a clip from Unfortunate Events.
And this is Spain's largest handkerchief.
Oh, yeah, this was large enough for, how do you say, suffocating rich person.
What was that?
I said,
Oh, bless you.
Thank you, pretty lady. Yes, I must be allergic to something in this room that is not large handkerchief for you two adult people.
The orphans, perhaps.
They're orphans? ¿Qué pasa? Yes, I'm allergic to orphans.
Is it their dust?
Yes, yes, or their ashes. This clogs up my whole, what is the word for it?
Glands.
Life.
Everybody, let's welcome Neil Patrick Harris.
Hey, everybody. Hiya, hi.
You got some fans in the house. We got some true fans here, huh? Yeah, that's a...
Thanks for coming. Thanks for braving the weather.
Yeah, it is chilly. I'm still waiting for spring. How about you?
Not that bad. I actually like this weather. This is fun. I like jacket weather.
Yeah. You live in New York, right?
Yes, we live in Harlem.
Cool. So you're used to the changing seasons.
Indeed.
That's
Indeed. We lived in Los Angeles for a while, and it's fun, but it does feel like it's kind of the same year all year long. I don't know. There's something, just wardrobe specifically. It's nice to break out, you know, the shorts and the tank tops when the sun comes out.
Definitely.
And don a sweater and a scarf, you know. In the colden
coat,
days.
your parka, and your rain boots. You need it all.
This is a great combo.
This is how we started off.
I love
it. But you're in Vancouver right now, right? Filming season 3 of a series of Unfortunate Events.
Indeed, yeah. We filmed seasons 2 and 3 pretty much back to back, just because the kids, Louis and Melina, who play Klaus and Violet, are growing.
Very fast. What about little
Tried
Sonny,
to get them to
though,
stop.
too?
We fed them all kinds of weird, injected them with things. But no, they keep growing, so we needed to film them as soon as we could. An apology for the nails. Olaf has these horrible,
I didn't even notice until you
long
said that.
nails.
That is creepy. Can we get a close-up
It's
of
no
that?
fun when you're washing your face at night.
Those
I
are
actually
natural
sleep
nails?
like this, and so I'll wake up sometimes with scars, with cut marks on my forehead, which I think is from the nails and not Voldemort.
Oh, those are your natural nails?
You never know.
Your natural nails?
Natural nails, yeah.
Oh, you could do it.
Yeah.
Now you know what it's like to be a woman.
Been there.
Yeah, you've been there already. I was going to say. So what was it like coming back to play Count Olaf for season 2? Having been, in season 1, kind of feeling out the character, getting it down, was it nice to come back and kind of jump right back into his shoes?
Super nice. It is one of those great gifts of a job, not only as an actor getting to play Olaf, who doesn't look anything like me. I get to do prosthetics for a couple hours in the morning, and by the time I'm on set, I really don't resemble myself. And just as an actor person, that's rare and super fun. But honoring these 13 books on Netflix's budget, which is pretty large, and I don't mean salary-wise, I mean production value-wise. It's extraordinary what they've accomplished, because everything's on sound stages. That's why we're filming in Vancouver. We don't go on location for alleyways. They will build an alleyway for one scene, and you'll see a old-timey taxi and a trolley car go by, and those are all real things, not CG things that they add later. And so existing in this super fantastical world is nothing but great. And the first few episodes of the first season, I was aware certainly of sort of the comparative nature of our series versus the feature film that was out, but now that we're past that in content, we have full ownership of what it is that we're doing. And I think that season 2 is more exciting. There's the kindling has been ignited, and now there's a fire that's going, and the kids who were spending, understandably, the first few episodes relatively shell-shocked at their circumstances, trying to process who is good and where to go and what's right, is static. and now they realize that Mr. Poe and adults aren't going to help them, that they have to take control of their own lives and their own futures, and that propels the action. So there's more movement, there's more reason, there's more questions answered, even though we pose more. That said, not a happy ending. Let's not forget the title.
Never is on the show. What is it about the season 2 that makes it maybe a little different? I know we have a few new cast members joining.
Sure.
How has the vibe kind of shifted into season 2?
Well, I think that's an interesting question because each book is 2 episodes, and each book is an entirely different location, and we don't go back to the previous ones. So when I'm playing Captain Sham and we're in a sea village, we're in that world for 26 days or something. As soon as that's done, we never go back there, and instead we head to a lumber mill, and we're in the lumber mill. So on the one hand, everyone's a little bit more, I think, comfortable in the skins that they're wearing as characters. That sounded very Silence of the Lambs. And it wasn't meant that way.
With the nails and the skin comments, I'm freaking out.
But so we're comfortable in one sense, but on the other hand, we're always in a new location. So we were filming for a month on a submarine for the past few weeks because those books take place there, and so we're on these sound stages with this incredibly realized, bizarre submarine that looks like an octopus. It's crazy what we get to do. Season 2 has some really exciting, fun stuff, characters. Yeah, the guest cast is great. Nathan Fillion's on board as Jacques Snicket. Tony Hale is in the show. Lucy Punch is Esme Squalor, and she's unbelievable. Lucy Punch is unbelievable. She's a blonde British actress, and she is so kinetic, and her choices are so spontaneous and random, and it works so perfectly for the character. And she's incredibly annoying to Olaf. And Lucy's not an annoying person, but she's really talented as an actor. So
Kind of like the new a new villain, right? Being introduced this season.
yes.
Is she going to be like a love interest for Olaf at all, or you just can't stand
How
her?
could she not be? Have you seen the guy? He's a Lothario. Yes, indeed. His girlfriend.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what has it been like working with her? And do you work with some of the new cast members as well?
Yeah, for sure. Well, in the scenes that I'm required to be, I'm mostly with my hench people, and Esme. We meet Carmelita Spatz, who's a girl at their school, Proof Rock Prep, that you meet in the first couple episodes. She's played by an incredibly gifted actress named Katana, and she's hilarious and awful. I don't know. I feel like we're doing a piece of art more than anything, and I'm so proud that we're doing 3 seasons and then we're done. That we're not just seeing if people will keep watching and having to create storylines and just make stuff up. We're sticking to the contents of the books, which we're all fans of, which we think deserve to be respected, and we're spending a lot of time on shots and on sets and on looks so that it's not just a show for kids that you watch because you read the books. We really want this to hold up against other feature films even, and I think we're succeeding in that. I can't wait for people's reaction to it.
I think it's great. And you had mentioned working with Netflix and how it kind of opens many other doors for this series because you can, they kind of give you that freedom as, producers and directors and creators to kind of create this world, and they check on you every now and then, but they let you kind of have that freedom.
It's unbelievable. Netflix prides themselves on buying content and putting creative people together, and once they've decided that's what they want to do, they walk away and they let you do it creatively with very little meddling. They've been involved in scripts as they've been developed, but once we're filming it, there's not a Netflix team that's sitting there whispering in directors' ears saying he can't smoke a cigarette. We don't do that here, and I think being able to be creative for creativity's sake, for the artistic nature of it, it makes it a pure form, hopefully to watch, but certainly to execute. Yeah. It's just, I don't know that I'll ever get a chance to do something of this scale we're doing 25 hours of content, you know, and I stand tall and proud for what we've accomplished. And little Presley, who plays Sonny Baudelaire, she's unbelievable this one.
She's grown a lot too.
She has grown a lot. She's a diva now. She refuses to come out of a trailer, demands a jacuzzi.
She's a little diva. What is it like, though, to work? You know, you were a child actor yourself. What is it like to kind of be on a show like this, where you're not only with child actors, but you're making content for children to really watch and enjoy? It must be special, like a kind of full circle moment.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, having acted as a kid, if anything, I'm just more, I suppose, aware of the potential pitfalls for the actors as people. I care about Louis and Melina as people, and I want them to not only be good on the show and good in the scenes, but I want them to have enjoyed the process. And it's a grueling process for them because they're in almost every scene. And then when they're not, they have to go to school. And Louis a Brit, so he's studying for massive exams that have to happen the day he's wrapped on the show in May. He's heads right for his exams that define his university career for the rest of his life. And he only gets to do that in little fits and starts in between dialogue-ridden scenes where he's having to do stuff. So he's having to be they both are having to be very compartmentalized. And I just care about them as people and want to make sure that that they're okay. And I guess as a sort of producer person and as a parent, I'm aware of what content is available to kids. And it's often very good, but it's often quite simple. And I think when you're younger and you're in pre-K or you're just learning things, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and Paw Patrol are super great. They teach good things, but I like also being able to try and create content that kids can enjoy with adults, or, nay, adults can enjoy without kids, right? And I think with Series of Unfortunate Events, that's the pocket we're trying to hit, that families can watch it, that kids can dig it, but that Comic-Con devotees can also appreciate Easter eggs and randomness, and it can play on multiple levels. I feel like kids are smarter than they're often made out to be. Yeah. I'm doing the game show, Genius Junior, right, on NBC, and that pits two teams of three really smart 8 to 12-year-olds against each other. And the whole purpose of that, I think, is to celebrate education and to celebrate something that is achievable. It's not about who's winning and who's the smartest. It's more about appreciating that this generation is gonna be kick-ass.
You're much smarter than us on that show. Well, you kind of segued to it for me, but we have a clip of Genius Junior because
awesome.
we want to talk about that too. So let's start to that clip, guys.
Woohoo!
You have 90 seconds. Your time starts now. Ethan, if you were traveling east on the 14th Street Canarsie Local, heading to Myrtle Wyckoff Avenues, at what station would you get off if you decided to leave the train one stop earlier?
DeKalb Avenue.
Correct. Connor, leaving the elevated station at Zarega Avenue in the Bronx on the southbound 6 line, what are the next 3 stops you'd pass?
Castle Hill Avenue, Parkchester, St. Lawrence Avenue, Morrisontown.
Correct. Devananda, here's a map of the 7 line. Tell me which stop has been removed.
Hunter's Point Avenue.
Correct. Ethan, after visiting Queens, you board the 6th Avenue local at Forest Hills 71st Avenue. What's the next station heading west?
Jackson Heights Roosevelt Avenue.
Correct. Connor, look carefully at this section of the 7th Avenue Express. What stop has been mislabeled?
Conestoga Avenue.
Correct. Should be Saratoga. Devananda, the J Street Metro Tech station is extremely busy. Leaving the A line there, you could transfer to what 4 connecting lines?
CFRN.
Correct. Ethan, as a history buff, you might want to visit Gates Avenue Station, which is over 130 years old. If you left there on the Z line heading west, what are the next 3 stops?
Okay. Myrtle Avenue. Pass.
Connor.
Myrtle Avenue, Alabama Avenue, Broadway Junction.
Incorrect. Devananda. Time's up.
Time's up for all of us after that.
See, they're stupid.
I'm like, I don't even know how to get from here to Canal Street, but
I didn't know how to pronounce some of those words that I was saying to
I
them.
have to say though, I was very impressed with your speed getting those questions
That's
out.
one of the actual practical things I have to do, and I have to do it the same way for both teams at this for games standards. Because if I talk slower for one team than the other, it gives an advantage to the other team, right? So I have to be talking as fast and as caffeinated as I can, with you still understanding what's happening.
That's a lot of pressure.
But what I love is that with the show, you get to watch the kids, you get to know them. We spend a lot of time focusing on them being regular people and not just robot parrots that are spouting things that they've memorized.
Robot parrots.
Yeah.
Now you played a genius yourself on Doogie Howser, of
did.
course. Do you think Doogie can compete with any of these kids?
Well, probably, but it's hard for me to answer because I was good at memorizing scripted material from writers.
You weren't a genius to
So, yeah, no. I got good at knowing medical jargon. I got good at acting like I knew medical jargon.
That's always the best, though, when I talk to anyone who is on a medical drama, is I expect them to know everything
Yeah.
about the medical field, and they're like, you do realize we have scripts, and we're not really doctors.
True
You
that.
guys really play it off really well.
Yeah.
But with these kids, did they impress you like beyond belief, where you felt like you had to go home and read like the encyclopedia and really work on your skills?
We worked very hard to get a group of kids, and you can sort of see them in this image, to get a group of kids that were a broad representation of schools and diversity, and not just in how they look, but in how they behave. And so they all have unbelievable breadth of character and depth of what it is that they like. They like sports as well. They like acting. Some of them like to sing, in addition to their incredible mental skill set. So I was pleased that they all got to hang out together. They're often just doing their own thing. They're kind of the super smart kid in their school, but that's maybe a lonely place to be if you're in an advanced math class, not with your friends. And so they were all they all had the opportunity to play together and have camaraderie, which I thought was cool. And at the same time, none of them had been on a game show before. So it was a very new experience and a kind of tricky, jarring one to be thrust onto a stage with audience over here and audience over here and lights everywhere and cameras on things moving around. That's intimidating. And I, as a parent and as the producer, wanted to make sure that the end result for them was a net positive, that they didn't feel exploited in any way, that they didn't feel like we were just there to utilize them for spelling words backwards and then kick them to the curb. I really, really want people to watch the show and be inspired, amazed, yes, because what they do is astonishing, but I kind of want people together to think, these are achievable goals. Learning math could be cool, like spelling words and working on that is a great thing, and not just homework, roll your eyes, when can I play with a screen again? And granted, I have 7-year-old twins who are in the first grade, and so I want to make sure that they feel empowered by education. But we live in a very strange bubble of a world right now where tweets on the daily are disruptive and oft so negative that I'm proud that we're able to support and showcase a generation younger than us with positivity. When you watch the marches that are happening, right? When you see kids who are not only like-minded and want to take action, but that they're doing it themselves. Like, they care. They're making a positive change. They want to do good things. And I think we deserve positivity right now. And when information and education is pushed forward, and it's not just right place at the right time, now suddenly you're recognized. You're a YouTube sensation because you posted a video and now you're famous, but you're not really. I think if we can focus on actual education, on actual things that are good and helpful, to be informed is everything right now. It's the biggest problem with all of this stuff that's happening in the Facebook-y body world, is that we're reading headlines, but we're not reading stories. We're less informed. And so if we can provide an opportunity for people to think that being informed is an asset, I think that that's a good thing.
It's a very powerful way to put it. I mean, just seeing the march this weekend, like you said, we're watching a show like this where you can see that kids are really going after their true potential, and it's not just all about what we think we see as kids on screens or on Facebook or on Twitter, on YouTube, like you said. Is it difficult to be a parent in this age of technology and all that?
The
How do you kinda
technology part's
navigate
hard.
it? Yeah.
Our kids are young enough now that we don't have to sit and have lots of deep conversations about heavy-handed things just yet. We'll wait for them to broach those subjects to us. But the technology stuff is hard because screens are so fun.
We're
Like
staring at one right now. I'm
swiping
staring at one here and here.
Swiping and the apps and the games are so fun and they're so intoxicating. And I love them. Yeah, if I had my druthers, I'd be wearing a VR headset right now, talking to you while I'm, shooting arrows at someone.
Like Ready Player One or something.
Exactly, but you have to be able to have, I don't know, time where you're not doing that. Yeah. Wooden blocks are awesome as well.
Even when I was a kid, right? I'd be outside. My mom would have us outside till it turned dark, and we had to come back and we got to watch maybe an hour or a half hour of Rugrats, and then we went to bed. And now it's just so different. So I'm very.
But at the same time, they're learning great things. There's great educational apps. There's a math app called Dreambox that the kids use, and it sees what they're better at and what they need more help with, and it steers them in that direction without it being seemingly intentional, and it reports back to teachers and parents. I mean, they're really good tools technologically, so I'm a fan of it. But it's hard to not want them to just play Minecraft all the time.
Or have them watch Genius Junior to really get up on there.
That's an exception. We allow that one.
But before I toss it to the audience, what about, this program made you want to be a producer and be a host? What's special about it?
Well, it just sort of, NBC came to me with the idea, and I responded to it for a multitude of reasons. I had done a variety show for NBC called Best Time Ever that lasted a season, and it almost crushed my entire spirit, physically and emotionally. It was a lot of work, and I had a great time doing it. It was very disparate and random, and we made it intentionally to be the kind of show where you would just set the remote down and watch us change the channel for you from segment to segment. But through that, I did all kinds of, I breathed fire, and I jumped on trampolines and pogo sticks, and I was just...
It's like hosting the Oscars every night.
It was a lot, every week. And so I was already in the NBC hosting world. I love game shows. I watch them all the time. I play them all the time. We have game nights, and I'm sort of the go-to host to be succinct with the rules and to keep the energy going. I've hosted award shows and stuff before, so I have a good, decent sense of reading the room. And then I played a genius when I was a kid, so that seemed like a logical fit. And I'm a parent as well, so I'm careful about protecting the kids. So you put all of that together, you wind up with Genius Junior, which is a show that has not been done anywhere else in the world. This is the first place it's been done. So hopefully, if it takes off and we get more seasons of it, then it could branch out, and Canada could get to experience the same thing, and it could be a bigger. I could be Tyra one day.
It's true.
Who doesn't want to be Tyra one day?
She's on cycle like 700, I think,
That's
of
what
America's
I'm saying.
Top Model. You're the next Tyra.
Fingers crossed.
You're very busy these days, though. I mean, from How I Met Your Mother, you went from that, you hosted the Oscars, you had that show you just mentioned, you have this, you have Unfortunate Events. I mean, when do you have time to just chill?
I get to chill with my family, and that prioritizes itself pretty easily, because as kids grow up and you want to spend time with them, they're just the greatest age. I'm very lucky right now. Everything is just super good. The kids are healthy. They're in the first grade. It's so awesome to see them have those aha moments of knowing that the T plus the H is a th, and recognizing that in letters, and starting to read signs as we drive by things, starting to read books to us instead of the other way around. I'm just really looking forward to that, to those moments when they have the creative independence to pick their own stuff as opposed to us reading to them, say. So, and they're hilarious, and they are teaching us patience and teaching us things. So it's just a really good time to be at home. So when I'm not working, I'm heading straight there and not leaving the brownstone and just kind of hanging out with those knuckleheads.
Real humans now.
Yeah, they're human people. They'll call you out on stuff.
That's the best. Better watch your back.
I hear that.
I do want to open up to some audience questions.
Oh, cool.
First.
Oh. Hi.
Hi, I'm Charlotte. I'm from Singapore and I'm 19 and I love you so much.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
As I really idolize you a lot and you really inspire me. And I've
Thanks.
watched like How I Met Your Mother like 10 times back and forth. A huge
Awesome.
fan. Just first time in New York and I got this and I
Nice.
can't believe I'm meeting you right now. It's crazy.
Cool.
Yeah, so what kind of advice do you have for an aspiring entertainer? Because you've hosted the Tonys, the Emmys, the Academy, you've done everything. And for me, like, that is like the dream, you know? So like, what kind of advice would you give?
I think if you're going to perform, my advice would be to figure out what it is that you're most passionate about, like what is specifically what you want to do. Because I think if you wanted to sing live, that's certainly a different path than if you wanted to sing on television. So what do you want to do?
Still figuring out,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I would say observe as much as you can, go to as many things as you can. I'm a big proponent of experiential learning and experiential education. I think immersive theater and escape rooms and circuses and things where you have to go out and actually be a part of it is really awesome, and it would help focus you. And then try to just take as many jobs as you can. Because even if it's seeming a student film or something that isn't paying you any money, that you think maybe no one's observing, you never know if the camera operator from that ends up becoming a director of photography, and if you behaved yourself well and represented yourself well, then they would say, oh, she'd be great for this part, and suddenly you're in a small part in it. But you know, that's kind of how it works. So you have to plant a lot of seeds and have a thick skin. It's a tricky business when you're an entertainer because you're auditioning against hundreds of people who want the same exact job, and only one of you gets it, and the odds of getting it are very small. So you're often not getting things, and it's really hard to not take that personally in some way. And that's the worst question to ask is, like, what's wrong with me? But there's so many other elements that come into play when you're casting, because I've been on the other side of it, and someone may be great, but the person we've already cast to play the sibling looks different, so they're not going to get the job. But they don't know that. They just know they didn't get the job. So sometimes then they think that they're doing something wrong, and that effing with your head, I think, is the hardest part. Is you have to commit to who you are, find out what you're passionate about, what turns you on, and do what turns you on. And eventually, if you're talented and you're shining, you're bright enough, then it will be recognized. Best of luck.
Nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thick skin. Good question.
Yeah, I'll sign that in a sec.
Who's next?
I'll do that in a sec. You're welcome.
Hey.
Hey.
So I love the first season of Series of Unfortunate Events, and
Awesome.
you play a sinister guy really well. Is that, do you approach playing sort of a bad guy role any different than the other roles that you've done, and do you want to continue doing those type of like bad guys?
Villains are fun, but Olaf is uniquely fun because he doesn't have any really deep backstory that would make you empathize with him. And I like that. I like that Olaf is just bad. And it allows me to just be dark and bad, but not have to be troubled and tormented because my brother's, you know, some event thing. You know, I mean, he's just dark and he's just mean. And you don't get to do that in life very often. It's just get to be, yeah, just awful. And so when I get to do it, and I don't have to look like myself, which helps, because I'm not seeing myself looking like me being horrible. I'm seeing myself as Olaf looking horrible. I get to remove myself a little bit from it. And it's just fun. The makeup is so garish, and the teeth and the nails, and it's just so not caricature-y, but he's an actor, as he says it, you know? And so, and he's a bad actor. So then I get to be fearless, and if I'm acting terribly, it's like almost better.
You're like, I'm in character. I'm
For
supposed
sure.
to be acting bad.
Oh, I've done things where I thought I was doing subtle, interesting things that looked awful, and then people were responding to it in the positive because they thought I had made that choice. But I was
exactly what I was
accidentally
going
awful,
for.
which turned out to be better. So yeah, I do villains for sure. I'm intrigued by that type of acting with the dots on your face, and then they turn, yeah, like Thanos in the new Avengers movie. Josh Brolin gets to play that. That would be fun to do, I think, sometime, because I do find myself
Very expressive.
almost feeling like I'm puppeteering myself sometimes, because I have prosthetics from under my eyelids all the way back, and my whole nose is prosthetic, right? So if I were to give a confused look as myself, you can see that, but I'm not moving much of my face. And under the prosthetics, it's lessened because it's got some tension. So in order to do that, I have to do, that to get that same thing. So I'm like recognizing how my face works in ways that I haven't had to do before, which is very technical, but I'm sort of into the technical work. So I think that motion capture stuff might be fun to do sometime.
Yeah, we got to get you at Andy Serkis in the motion capture world.
He's unbelievable.
He's the best. I mean, Gollum. He's in Planet of the Apes. He was in Black Panther though, and it was weird to see him not like be some sort of character.
We
and just
told
be a
our
person.
kids that the guy from Black Panther was also Gollum. And it blew their minds.
Like,
Yeah.
I love that your kids know who Gollum is. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
Genius Junior, number 2.
Precious.
All right, we have time for one more. Here we go.
Hey, Neil.
Hey, buddy.
So you've had a very well-rounded and accomplished career so far. And I was wondering at this point in your journey as an actor, how do you approach projects? So are you doing it for personal interest? Is it something where you'll take a role because it's incredibly challenging? And what else would you like to accomplish because you've done so much?
Thanks. I feel this is my 31st year in the business, and so I've gotten to work on a lot of interesting chapters in a wide array of formats. So I've gotten to dabble in multi-camera comedy with a live audience and without. I've gotten to dabble in drama, feature film, David Fincher style, which is lots of takes and quiet set. I've done Harold and Kumar-y stuff where it's kind of renegade set and you're kind of flying around and doing it. And I've done theater, big and small. So I've gotten to do a lot of things. And I think from that, my decision making now is, I hope, more informed in a way, because I'm not just saying I have to do this. I'm trying to think about what's the time commitment, how far away is it from the family, what does it pay, what is it a good tangential move from what I've already done, or does it seem like I'm doing the same thing twice? Will I get bored after a little while? So I question myself a lot. That said, I've gotten to do these weird transformational kind of performances, and those are hard to turn down. The opportunity to do something like this, you just, as an actor, don't get very often. So that the uniqueness of it would outweigh the others. The next gig I get would have to be New York specific. I miss my family a lot. Vancouver's fantastic, and I recommend anyone working there or going there. It's a great town. The crews are fantastic. Hardworking and nice, and the food is great, but it's just it's far from the family. And otherwise, I'm anxious to direct more. I think after this gig, I'll probably do some directing. I think I'm happiest in process. I really like getting the prosthetics on because I'm still fascinated by what glues are different and why this is softer than it was yesterday and what that accomplishes and how the airbrushing works. I just think it's all really fascinating. So I love being on set and watching the crew work and figure out the dolly move, and it all has to work together. It really takes a very impressive village to make a single shot happen. And I love being in the middle of that. As an actor, you're often just told to go into your trailer and then we'll call you when we're ready, and you're sitting around checking your phone, and then you get a knock, 5 minutes, and then you go and you do your thing, and then they ask you to leave again, because actors are emotional and weird. And, but I like being on set, and I like, I'm ready to paint and not just be a color.
Good way to put it. Well, I have to say really quickly, you mentioned that this is your 31st year in the business, and the
Right.
number 31 just really triggered me, and How I Met Your Mother fans, I'm sure. Who is Barney's baby mama? Can you just tell us? Do you know?
I do know, yeah. We actually filmed a scene that wasn't in the final edit, and it was a scene in the bar where Barney wanders over to two girls and has sort of a short scene with them, and it was one of those girls who was actually one of my close friends, because I knew it was going
Who was
to.
it?
Well, I don't want that to turn into a big thing, because it didn't end up in the show, right? So it's not really part of the show, even though we filmed it. But personally, it was nice to know that someone that I know in real life is the baby mama.
You know who it is. But they made that decision, right, to keep it out. Was that purposeful, or was it just like, oh, we ran out of time, sorry?
I think it was purposeful, probably to not, at the end of the day, to not put a face to that, just because it probably would cause a larger conversation, and the focus of all of that was less about the who and more about Barney's relationship with his daughter. So once you put a third party into that, which would be natural, we just didn't have the time to go there at all. So it wasn't as if we had scene after scene after scene with this person. It was much more singular, that relationship. And I love those scenes. I loved that it ended that way, that as much as Barney and Robin were a great fit, he's just not the kind of person to only be with one woman. He just that wasn't who he was, and they can still remain friends, and then there's one woman that is able to be, that he's able to fall in love with, and it's his daughter, and I think that's just very poetic and sweet.
Well, guys, I tried, but we got some good stuff, right? Thank you for that. And thank you for being here. Congratulations on
pleasure.
everything.
This is always
so,
fun.
A series of unfortunate events is out this Friday.
All the
episodes. And we still have one more season to look forward to. And then Genius Junior is on Sundays, but not this Sunday, because Jesus Christ Superstar will be on. So it will be on next Sunday. Are you excited for that?
I love the big live musicals. NBC does them well. And I want to see John Legend as Jesus.
Me too. Who doesn't? Great place to end. Thank you for being here. Thanks.
Bye, guys. Thank you.